brought to you by Minimizer, Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. Minimizer was formed more than 30 years ago when truck driver Dick Kruckerberg literally invented the poly fender.
These are the first blueprints of my fenders 25 years ago.
Fast forward 3 decades, and Minimizer makes a variety of aftermarket truck products. Blooming Prairie continues to serve as company headquarters because Minimizer is committed to its hometown and the success of the community as a whole.
Where's Mark?
I'm right here. We're filming the Where's Mark television program today from Owatonna, Minnesota. And we are here with Nick and Nikki Larson. Now, that in itself is probably a story, that you've got a Nick and a Nikki in the family. And so perhaps Nikki, you had that smile burst out right away. What's up with that?
I guess just we hear that all the time. Every time we introduce ourselves to or meet new people, is people always say, "Oh, Nick and Nikki, did you plan that?" So we just hear it all the time. And my family has called me Nick a lot of my life, kind of just as a nickname. And he had an uncle or a brother-in-law who used to call him Nicky. So, just kind of funny, I guess.
So you guys were meant for each other right from the beginning, then, right?
I think so, yeah.
So
It was planned.
It was a planned thing. So Nick, who introduced him? Did you introduce yourself to Nikki, or did she introduce herself to you first? You first met.
We found each other. No, I don't remember how it all.
Yeah, I don't remember how it happened either.
I'm wondering how that first conversation went. Where, "Hi, I'm Nick. I'll get out." Is it really Nick? Because I'm Nick too.
I think we heard about each other first before we knew, or before we introduced each other. So I already knew she was Nikki, and she knew I was Nick.
So that's pretty cool that you married somebody that. So you kept the Nick and your last name Larson in the same sentence. Then, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we're here today talking about something that's kind of exciting that's coming up. It's called a From the Heart race that's coming up this next week, and you're one of the special families that's being honored in this organization and by this organization called From the Heart. So, Nikki, what do you know about this organization, and how did they approach you? Just kind of give me a background of what it is.
Actually, I had got a phone call from Beth Spenby, who is the creator of the event. We had known about the event, and the kids, ever since my son was little, I guess, has always come home with stuff from the school, advertising for the race, and we'd heard about it, and we'd bought t-shirts in years past. We'd never actually participated in the race because it's walleye fishing opener down in Iowa, and my family always gets together for that, so we've always been down there, but we've always supported it through buying t-shirts. I didn't know Beth Spenby or really know that she was the creator of it. I didn't know that part of the story, but I had a missed call one day, and she had left me a voicemail and just said, "This is Beth Spenby, will you please give me a call?" And I called her back thinking that it was somebody who was looking for a job, because that's what I do, is I do recruiting for a job. And
Is that here in Owatonna?
I work for Aerotech, which my main
Rochester?
office is out of Rochester. However, I do sit here in Owatonna at Jostens. I'm in charge of the Jostens account. So,
Okay.
But she had called, and that's all her voicemail really said. So I called back thinking, okay, this lady's looking for a job. And when I called her and introduced myself, she said, "Yeah, I'm actually calling because you were nominated for From the Heart." And then I guess emotions took over at that point, and I didn't know how the process worked. Like, I didn't even know people had nominated us, or that's how they went about choosing families. We had a probably 5-minute phone conversation, and she had asked if she could set up a time to come meet with us, and later that week she did. She came over, and we were all sitting at the kitchen table, and at that point we didn't know if this was something that we wanted to do. It was just kind of scary, and Nick's not he's a pretty private person, so he at first he was like, "Absolutely not, I don't want to do it." And I said, "Well, let's just listen to her story and see, what she has to say." And she came over, and think the whole time he was thinking he wasn't going to do it, you know, and I just kind of knew that that's probably what he was going to decide, and I was okay with whatever he decided.
Didn't want cameras in my face, and no,
Yeah.
didn't want any recognition or anything for something I'm not proud of.
Paparazzi.
Yeah. And then I think after Beth was probably here for
Those
about
that are watching this by internet, you realize that we have made him soften, and he has got a camera in his face right now. This is not a hidden camera.
After talking with Beth for probably about an hour and just hearing her whole story and how she, you know, came up with the idea for From the Heart and everything, and she had asked Nick if he was interested, and he said he'd have to think about it, and she kind of just said, okay, you know, she said that he was his hardest sell. She's never had to sell it to somebody that hard before, but I think what basically got us was she said, you know, somebody bigger than any of us understand put me here at your kitchen table today.
Okay.
And just said some stuff that I guess we needed to hear, and
Right.
yeah.
And Nick, when she came to you with this, if you're anything like me, you're one of those that's always, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and the kids are here in the background too. Your son's not here though today.
He is. I think he's down in his room.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, Nick.
Xbox.
Oh, because Xbox. Okay, Nick. You're probably like most of us. That you're probably one that would give people the shirt off your back to help anybody else, but you never need any help yourself. And you've probably been there your whole life. And all of a sudden, your car gets stuck in the ditch, and you get to the point where you realize, I need to get this out. I need some help. How hard was that for you to accept this and be a host family here?
Yeah, that was the hard part, I guess, because normally just do it on my own. Don't want recognition, help.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, car got stuck in the ditch. Now I need help. And
Yeah.
it's nice when you see your family and friends, everybody supports you. It's what you need, I guess.
And I think you've also come to the realization, Nick, that in accepting help, you don't know how many families you're going to reach and help that are going to come after you.
Yeah.
That if you don't cut the swath, and if you don't clear the path, they're never going to get through. You're a spokesman for your generation, and you're a spokesman for those that are facing this 6 years from now, 6 months from now, 6 days from now. You're going to be a touchstone that they're going to have to come through. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit, but let me go back to the process of how this all happened and how you guys realized that there was a problem.
When Nick was diagnosed, you're
Right.
saying? He had called me, it was December 15th, and he had called me at probably noon. I was at work, and he called and just said, I just want to let you know I'm not feeling good. I think I pulled a muscle in my back. I'm going to head back to Owatonna and go to the ER. He was working in Mankato at the time, pouring concrete, and as he was talking to me, I could tell he really wasn't feeling well, and he said, oh, I feel like I'm going to throw up or pass out or something, and I said, well, I don't think you should be driving then if that's how you're feeling. And he said, no, I'll be fine. I'm just going to drive straight there. And so I kind of tracked him on Find My iPhone, made sure he made it there because I was worried about him because he kept fighting with me, saying no, he was going to drive himself. And he did call me when he got to the Owatonna ER and let me know that he was there, and then I didn't hear from him again. I got off work at 3 o'clock or 3:30 and was driving home to pick up my oldest daughter Kaya to take her to dance, and I got about 2 blocks from work and realized, I don't know, I just had a weird feeling that I should go see what was going on with him at the hospital because I hadn't heard from him, and called Kaya and said, Kaya, you're going to skip dance today. We'll make it up next Tuesday instead. And I went out to the ER, and they took me back to his room right away, and about 10 minutes later, I guess, the doctor came in and just said, I have bad news. You have what we call renal cell carcinoma. You have a huge mass on your kidney, and we need to take you over to Rochester by ambulance. So
Immediately.
yeah.
So when that happened and you got the initial word from the doctor, there are going to be people that are going to be watching this and they're going to want to know what you did right away. I mean, we are not prepared in any kind of education in America to go through the words from that doctor to us or a loved one. So take me back there. I know this is painful, but take me back there, and how did you process it?
I mean, we both just kind of looked at each other, and
I mean, at that point, it was kind of, we weren't clear on what exactly it was, so it's more shocking when we got to Rochester the next day when they kind of finally told us what everything was after
Nick kind of looked at me and he said,
the surgery and the biopsy, and
Nick kind of looked at me and said, can you go lock my work truck? Obviously, we're not taking it, it's going to have to sit here. And so I went out and locked his work truck, and I instantly called my work. At the time, I was working at Northwestern Mutual and did, life insurance and disability insurance and all that kind of stuff. And this was on a Wednesday. And Friday, I was scheduled to go take my investments exam. And so I called my boss right away and said, we're going to have to reschedule Friday. There's no way I can go take that test. And I just said, they just told us Nick has cancer. I don't know what's going on, but they're sending us over to Rochester. And I went back in and tried to gather myself, and we just kind of sat there and looked at each other. And I think we're still in disbelief and, didn't really know anything about renal cell carcinoma or, what it was going to lead to or whatnot. The ambulance showed up probably 15-20 minutes later, and they took him.
From Otana there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They took him, and I didn't want to tell the kids what was going on, so I just kind of, on my way from the hospital to here, I called a friend and asked her if she could come take care of the kids for the night, and just told her I had to go over to Rochester. Nick was going to the hospital. We just kind of told the kids that we thought Nick had kidney stones, so they just wanted to check it out because they didn't want them to worry until we knew what was going on. And I stopped home, grabbed, I don't even remember what I grabbed, but I grabbed a couple things and went directly to his parents' house, which is just a couple blocks away. And I remember walking in, and I just looked at Nick's dad and I said, I think you guys should come to Rochester. Nick was just at the doctor, and they said he has cancer. And so they, actually I called his mom on the way. She wasn't home. And I told her, and she said, go straight to our house, let Lonnie know. So I drove straight there, walked in and let him know. His mom pulled in the driveway a couple minutes later, and we all headed over to Rochester.
Did you ride together?
Well,
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Did you ride together?
Nick's mom rode with me, and Nick's dad drove by himself.
Okay.
So.
And all this time, Nick, you're in the ambulance. You're on your way to Rochester. They've, one day you're pouring concrete. Next day, you're in a doctor's office, and they're telling you need to have a kidney removed. Is this correct?
yeah.
What are you going
Either
through?
remove the kidney or start treatments, and I forget how big it was, but it was obviously massive, so it was the best option was to get rid of it.
Get rid of the kidney?
Being he can still getting rid of the kidney, being he can still survive on one kidney, I guess, therefore I look at it as somewhat lucky, having it there.
Right, right.
But yeah, it was
And this happened last December?
December 15th, 2015.
2015.
So too.
Yeah, we had an incident just recently last September where I went into Austin, same thing. Had problems with my back, wondered what was going on, and they said well, you've either got cancer or you're passing kidney stones. Well, it ended up to be gallbladder, but the pain was horrendous. I had the high fever of 105, and then they found out, and I'm laying in the bed, and they go, "Oh, you've only got one kidney." And I said, "No, I came in here with two." And they said, "No." And I said, "Did you check under the bed?" I said, "I know that I had it when I came in," and found out that it hadn't grown when I was born. So obviously all this time with one kidney, and I just never knew, but came through. So it's interesting some of the things you find.
My grandpa had 3 kidneys and he had one removed.
He had to have a removal?
Yeah, one of them removed.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, you're laying in this, you're laying in the ambulance, you're driving, that had to be one of the longest rides. And
Only about 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, no.
It seemed like 5 hours, right?
Yeah, it wasn't actually, I don't know, I was just oblivious to everything. I don't know, I just
I think you were talking with
the guys, yeah, it wasn't too bad, but yeah, just, I don't know how to explain it, just still numb to the fact that what's really going on, and
Thinking maybe it's a mistake, thinking maybe it's...
nothing I can do about it at this
Yeah,
point, so
yeah.
just roll with it,
Right, right. So you got to the hospital, and then, of course, Nikki, you and Nick's parents showed up. That must have been kind of a long night. Did they run you through any tests that night at all?
They did.
She remembers everything. Yeah.
They told us that they didn't want to say that he for sure had cancer because they said, we could get in there and it could be benign, it could be a cyst, it could be, many things. They just said that kidney cancer is very distinctive though. They wanted to do another CT scan with dye, and they said then they'd be able to tell. So they did that, and then it was just a whole lot of waiting, and we sat around and waited, and it was a really busy night in the ER over there, but they admitted him, and I think the doctor came into our room about 2 o'clock in the morning. His parents had left probably 15 minutes before that to go home and just to get some sleep, thinking we wouldn't find anything out till morning, and the doctor walked in and said, we had talked about the 3 different scenarios, and he said it's the worst case. So he said it is for sure.
Stage 4?
Nope, they didn't give us a stage at that point. He just said that it's for
Grade 4.
sure kidney cancer. And the next day, those are the questions I had asked, like what does this mean? Like, what stage is it? I didn't really know much about cancer,
Right.
but I knew, a few things or whatever. And then the doctor and the oncologist, or the urologist and the oncologist came in and met with us, and just kept saying, saying he could keep it in or he could have it removed, and but his, at this point they just want to prolong his life is what they kept saying, and we were just like, what do you mean prolong his life? We didn't really know what was going on because they wouldn't tell us a whole lot, but he was scheduled for the surgery the next day, and he went in. It was about a 6-hour surgery, and they removed his right kidney, his right adrenal gland, and 17 lymph nodes that they thought were suspicious. And the lymph nodes all came back clean. They were perfectly fine. The adrenal gland came back clean, but the tumor itself was 12 by 12 by 12 inches. So, and then when the doctor came in to give us all that information later in the day after he had been brought back up to the room, that's when they had told us that he had some suspicion, or he had some suspicious spots in his lungs. But they didn't want to do a biopsy on him because they were kind of small, and they had said that once you get the main source of cancer out, sometimes your body can fight off those little spots and kill them on its own. So we kind of, and he had just gone through that major surgery, so they didn't want to put him through anything else until he was healed from that anyway. So
Right.
That was the plan at that point, is we'd follow back up in 8 weeks once he was healed, and they would do a biopsy on his lungs. That ended up being pushed back because once the tumor did come out, like mid-February when we went back, they had said that some of them did clear up on their own, and so they weren't too concerned about it. So they said, I think we can hold off on the
Could be
biopsy.
environmental, or just could
Yeah,
be
they said it,
scars
it
from
could-
pneumonia, or
Yeah, it said it could just be, scar tissue you have in your lungs, or at this point they didn't feel that it was necessary to do a biopsy. They said we'd just wait it out for the next scans and see. And then,
So you guys really had about 8 weeks for a little bit of a breather? Breathe a sigh of relief almost at that point, I bet.
yeah,
Which is good for the healing of the body, to keep yourself positive in that. And then what happened?
the end of February we went to Arizona, out to just take a little family trip and kind of get away, and his parents went with us, and we went out to visit his grandparents in Arizona, and we were, while we were out there, he started having like spasms in his abdomen where it looked like,
The baby
I mean,
was
you could see
kicking.
it, like it
It
looked
was,
like
like,
a baby was
pulsating right
kicking,
here.
like it was pulsating. You could physically see his shirt moving, and like,
Sure.
Didn't have
and so I had contacted our primary doctor, Dr. Moore here in Owatonna, and just said, you know, is this something we should be concerned about? And she said, well, I say so. Like, I think you guys should go in, you know, to the emergency room down there and just have it checked out so that you can feel safe. And so we did that, and they did scans of his abdomen and basically said, everything's fine, like, you're fine. Sent us back home, so we went back home, and the next day we headed to the Grand Canyon. So we spent several hours in the van driving, and throughout that day he started having them kind of more frequently. And then once we left the Grand Canyon, he started having some depth perception stuff where he was reaching for stuff, but you know, thought it was here, but it was over here, and kind of spilt his drink at dinner and stuff. And at that point I had made the decision that
losing control of my arm or whatever.
yeah. I had made the decision that we weren't going to stay at the hotel there anymore. We were going to head back, and I planned on taking him into the emergency room again in the morning to get it figured out, because I knew there wasn't right. So we drove all the way back, which I think was like 4.5, 5 hours.
It was 5.
So we didn't get back till I think 2 o'clock in the morning or something. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to him screaming my name, and he started having a seizure. So.
Okay. At that point, now that you didn't even get back to the ER before that happened then. So
No.
you took him in the very next morning. Did he go right then? Did they have an ambulance right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
An ambulance came and took him because he had a very intense seizure that lasted about 10 minutes, and
Grand seizures.
yeah.
Grand Mal, probably.
Grand mal,
Yeah.
And
So when you went to the doctor then, and obviously when the paramedics get here, did it pretty much, the seizure pretty much subside, or did it last?
It stopped. He probably came out of it maybe 30 seconds before they got there. But I mean, he was still really like just out of it, and didn't
Yeah, I
know,
remember
he
he
didn't know
was.
who I was, or
Sure.
they kept asking him like, who is this? And he kept saying I was his mom.
Still not sure.
And so his mom and dad kind of laughed and said, well, she kind of is his mom. But and then so they loaded him up in the ambulance, and I got to go with. So it was probably about a half an hour drive to the Mayo Clinic down there, and right as we were pulling in, he started having another seizure, and he kind of called it out again. He told the guy, I feel it in my leg, it's going to happen, and it started.
So you went to the Mayo, did you drive to Texas Mayo at that point, or?
No,
They have
Phoenix.
one in
Phoenix, okay.
Scottsdale,
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So you did go to a Mayo Health System, so they all had all your history and your
Yes.
records and
Yep.
everything. Well, that was at least convenient for that.
Yeah,
And,
it's nice.
and did the diagnosis come then in Arizona?
Yeah, so then we found out, they did a scan of his brain, and we found out probably a couple hours after being there that he had a 1 centimeter tumor on his brain. So,
Left side of your brain that controls the right side of your body.
Right, right. And what did they advise as a course of action at that point?
he had to stay the night.
Put me on steroids and
Yep, they put him on Keppra, so they started him on a very high dose of seizure medication, and then put him on steroids to reduce the swelling in his brain.
And did they try to remove that tumor at all?
No.
And what?
No,
Why?
so we were set to leave to come back to Minnesota the very next day. So he had to stay the night in the hospital the one night so they could monitor him. We kind of found everything out the next morning, I guess. We didn't get the results till the next morning that's what it was. But once they got him on the seizure medication, he didn't have any more. Like, it was under control, and he started feeling good again, and was getting his memory back because he didn't remember like some things that we had done that
Right.
day before and
Right.
stuff like that. So I mean, he was pretty much back to normal,
she went
and
golfing.
so it was
yep,
like
and
a
he got
concussion.
discharged from the hospital and went home. They played a couple holes, and then we caught our flight the next morning. So
in the hospital one night and out on the golf course the next. So
Why not?
we're hoping this is going to be an outcome where this is going to pass quickly and you'll be out on a golf course one of these days real soon here.
Yeah.
So came back to Mayo. What did they say there?
We followed up with our doctor there that very same week. They had got us in, and we met with a neurologist and went over the different options. He had the option of having surgery to go in and have it removed, or doing the gamma knife, which is the high dose of radiation to a targeted area. I feel like there was one other option too, maybe.
Where he
But he
had,
chose to do the gamma knife. So he had that done that very next week.
Explain the gamma knife to us.
They put
It's
they
like
kind
you're
of
in
screw a couple, kind of like a halo.
Mm-hmm.
Like they screw a couple things into your head here and here.
Been there, done that.
Kind of a
I had my neck
frame.
broken when I was 19 years old. So
Yeah.
those are horrible.
Yeah, they give you those shots, and those hurt the worst. I think that was the
Yeah,
worst part
to
about
numb it up.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
the worst part about it.
Oh my gosh, I know. So that they actually, it's like an actual knife that goes in, or is it a laser?
No,
Nope,
it's
it's a
just
laser.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
then you're in a halo and you go on it's like a radiation machine, CT scan type.
Okay, like an open seat is like a okay.
Just positions you, keeps you perfectly still, and
Sure.
targets that area, and zapped it out, and haven't had a problem since with that.
Yeah, it was an in-out procedure. He had to stay for a couple hours afterwards just to make sure everything was okay, and
So that tumor
had
was
to come
gone.
home that same day. It's gone now.
Okay, and what is your diagnosis now going forward?
Right now, he actually has restaging scans on Thursday or Wednesday of this week, and we'll get the results on Thursday. But after the gamma knife, he had, he did high dose IL-2 treatments up at the University of Minnesota.
Immunotherapy.
And then that stopped working, so then he started having Opdivo infusions every 2 weeks over in Rochester, and that stopped working. So now he's on Votrient, which is a chemo pill that he takes every day here at home, and we'll find out if that's working this week.
Yeah, how does
hair
it
white, so
Yeah, it's turning
doing
his hair
something.
white.
Yeah, it just makes you look a little more wise and
Yep.
and sage-ish, I guess, if you
Yeah.
want to say that.
because if you look in that picture, he has brown hair.
Yeah, brown hair turned to white, and it's the chemo. What are the other side effects that you felt with the chemo pill? I know it's relatively new,
Little nausea, I guess, diarrhea.
but it's not as bad as the actual chemotherapy.
No,
though.
I feel pretty lucky as long as this works, I guess I feel pretty lucky I'm able to do pretty much anything I want.
And where's the cancer located right now?
In his lungs.
In the lungs. That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few different spots. There's one bigger
He's got
spot.
several spots in his lungs, both the left and right lung.
I say a few, she says several.
Okay.
Sounds better my way.
Yeah.
It does, but
I like that, but we all know it's a scary adversary, and one of the things about one from the heart, I think it's a great organization that really causes us to be more aware that this disease is still out there. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't take a break, doesn't take a day off, and it's 24/7. And when we as people will come together and fight against this, we become warriors against this disease, whether it's Relay for Life here or it's the one from the heart. I think these are ways that we can make people enlist in the battle and get on board. Going forward now, how has this slowed you down, Nick, as far as your job? You're not working now, correct?
No. I was about to get laid off anyways due to the winter, and then I just never went back. And physically, I probably couldn't do it anymore, just because I slowed down to keep up with that pace. And going into the doctor and getting treatments and.
his body, he's in denial, but his body is a lot weaker than it
I'm
used
gonna
to
be
be,
in
and
denial
he's
forever.
fatigued a lot.
He's our Superman.
Sleeps a lot, and
Yeah.
just it's tiring on his body.
Well, you, when you say you're in denial, you're not really in denial. You're just a fighter, right?
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
It's like a hard construction progress or project, excuse me, that nobody else wants to tackle, and they give it to you, and they say, figure this out and do it. And you're figuring it out, Nick, aren't you?
Yeah.
Getting through it. How do you get through it? Somebody else just got diagnosed. Watching this, what are you going to tell them today?
It's shocking at first, but you just have to stay positive and cliche one day at a time. But yeah, stay positive. I mean, you'll get through it. Everybody's is obviously different. No case is the same. Some are worse than others, but yeah, just, I don't know, my motto is stay positive. I don't dwell on it. I don't want to sit there and talk about it. I don't want, I mean, I understand people want to ask you and see how you're doing, which is normal, but I just try not to think about it, I guess, and try to, other than when I look in the mirror and see my hair's white.
There, since December 15th of 2015, it's been a new normal for you and for your family. And you've had to take on different challenges, new chapters that you're reading in your life that you never thought you'd ever read. But it looks like you're getting through this, and you're getting through it with positivity and with strength and going forward, never giving up. So when you say you live a normal life, you try to do everything as you used to be able to do it, only maybe a little bit slower.
Yeah, I just haven't stayed in the same physical shape. The only time the only time I feel bad is like during the treatments or what the pills make you feel like. I don't feel like the cancer itself has done anything to me. It's just more like the pills or the treatments.
Right.
Side effects of the
Side
drugs.
effects, yeah, which I'm luckier than most, I guess.
Right.
It seems like.
Well, again, going forward from here, we're all expecting this week some very good news, and we're expecting that things will turn out in a positive way for both of you. I don't think you're done. I think that you had to take on the new normal for somebody else. Here's a man that's always trying to help others and had to ask for help. And there's guys just like you and me, that we don't ask for help. But there comes a time in your life where you have to really realize, I need some help. And so you look at those hard-nosed guys that have been diagnosed, and you gotta tell them, Nick, it's something they just have to do, even if it's for a short time. Because again, it's for somebody coming down the line that they haven't seen yet. So you're looking at a guy maybe that's watching, tuning in, trying to find some hope, trying to find some positivity. He's at the end of his rope. Talk to him.
There's always one more day, and I would never give up until, you hear all the stories, just look at all the good stories out there, don't listen to the bad ones. At first I did a lot of research, and that was the worst thing I could ever do. You see
I had to ban him from the internet.
the odds of what everything is. Every case is different. I'm younger than most, so I'm not in everybody's case is way different. It's not just because the book says this doesn't mean that's going to happen.
Sure. And cancers are different, but couple that with the idea that families are different, schedules are different. Your schedule changed from 2015 to now. Is it going to be back to the way it was? I don't think it'll ever be back to the way it was. I think you guys will always go forward, and you've grown through this. You've gained some great knowledge through this. You guys may be the springboard where people are going to come, and you may be their support group. And that might be what this is all for. It's kind of like I said, when a man faces crisis and can see his purpose, it changes his heart, and it changes his perspective. And there's been perspectives that have been changed here in both of you. So, Nikki, you've got probably one of the hardest parts here. He's fighting the cancer in his body, but you're trying to hold the rest of the family together, and you're the spokesperson, and you're kind of, or coordinating, and you're the caregiver, that's a very tireless job. I mean, and thankless job. And some people always lose the caregivers in the transition. And when you're going through the turnstiles, everybody kind of forgets about it. But what do you tell those caregivers that are out there?
I don't know, just hang in there. Things get better. I don't know. I feel like Nick and I have always had a good and solid relationship over the last 17 and a half years, but I feel like
It was an easy transition for her. She was my caregiver anyway. So.
no, but I feel
My
like
wife's
it's
gonna
brought
love
us.
this.
I feel like it's brought us together even closer. I think, our lives, we're moving at such a fast pace that you take things for granted, and I think this has forced us to kind of slow down, even though our life is nothing but slow. And just appreciate the little things more, and just
I want it to slow down. Gives you time to think.
yeah.
Isn't it funny that even though in actual hours it doesn't change, but in your minds it's slower than it was, and yet you look and you see that sand going through so
Yeah.
fast, and everything is just passing. It's been, you're into the second year now,
Yeah.
and I can't even imagine what that must be like. How are the kids holding up? And what are your kids' names and their ages?
Braden is 16, Kaya is 11, and Ellie is 10.
And how are they holding up?
Good. They all handle it each differently, which is something that's kind of hard sometimes. Kaya likes to talk about it, but with just me. So, she'll pull me aside and we'll have our private conversations about it at all. So she, the counselors at the school have been amazing. They both meet with Mrs. Griswold at Lincoln on a weekly basis, and Ellie actually sees a therapist outside of school as well. But Ellie is too worried. They all worry.
The what ifs.
Yeah. And so Ellie doesn't like to talk about it because she doesn't want to get anybody upset or make anybody cry, or she doesn't
Right.
want to have those conversations. Our son Braden, him and I will have conversations, but it's not. Their main thing is they just want to know how doctor's appointments go, and I don't know that they understand the reality of it all.
Sure. It's always something to keep it in the back of your mind that it's there. But I think statements like, when Dad gets better, or when Dad's feeling better, let's go here.
Yeah.
When Dad starts feeling up to it, let's do this. Oh, let's go back and do this. Remember what we used to do? Things like that, I think, can really be a help to families in crisis when they're going through this. And again, the message is just never giving up.
Right.
And just never giving up hope. You could walk right to that door and God might say to you, no, you're not done yet.
Yeah.
You have more to do. And you're a big, strong man, Nick. It looks like you've got plenty to do yet. You have 3 kids yet to raise, and you have a wife that is not going to do that alone. So I know that fight is a good fight for you. And you're going to hang on. I believe that this is all going to turn out in your favor. So I thank you so much for today and for inviting me into your home. What is from the heart done as far as helping you guys and support and things like this, Nikki?
I think it was,
Showing us we're not alone.
I think that was hearing other people's stories. I know all of the recipients got together. The Ratzlaffs were not there. We all got together and had dinner together one night, and just hearing their stories, and there's similarities in all of them. Just knowing that you're not the only people going through this, and stuff like that. It's
Right.
and just the outpouring of support. The Owatonna community is amazing. I from the time I moved here in '97, and I thought, you know, Owatonna was great. We moved away for a while, and I knew that when Braden was ready to start school, that we wanted to be back here because it's, you know, a great community, and the people of Owatonna just proved that over and over again.
Sure, sure. One from the heart is just an awesome organization. This is their 9th year that they're going to be running the race and holding this annual race and festivities and things like this. And there have been some that have come through from the heart and they don't make it. You know what I think they need this year, Nick? I think they need one good success story. One good success story of somebody that they helped that.
Four.
How about 4?
Yeah.
I like that. How about 4? How about this be our year where we see that the support families have gotten through and we've all gathered and taken you over the bridge and you're to this other side. I think that says it all right there, Nick. How about 4?
See why not?
Why not us, right? Why not this year? Why not this? Let's not wait till the 10th anniversary with the big festivities. Let's wait. It'll happen on the 9th year. How about that?
Yeah.
And that would be an awesome thing. Again, thank you so much for spending time with us today here on the Where's Mark segment. And we wish you well, and we're going to be keeping a good thought for you on this Thursday when you have the scans results. And we will keep you in our thoughts and our prayers. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on and to pay this forward, even the DVD, to pay this forward to somebody else who needs a little bit of hope today. And Nick, a final word, going to give them a little bit of hope?
We got this.
We got this. If there's ever a man who's got your back, it's Nick Larson and Nikki Larson. Nick and Nick, Nick and Nikki, Nikki and Nikki, however you say it, they're a fighting team, and it's a great team to battle against this disease of cancer. You know, in the newspaper, I was going through old archives, and I came across the article back, I think it was in the 50s, where they said polio has been defeated. Can you imagine reading that monster that attacked so many people? Can you imagine CNN News and CBS and the newspapers, all of a sudden you read that cancer has met its match. There's a cure.
It'll be amazing.
It will be amazing. It will be amazing because I believe we will find that. And so that people that have been subject to this won't face this extreme that you guys have faced. So again, thanks guys.